And you've just heard Best Thing, a track from We Then Me, the current album by I Am David Laing. And I'm joined by David now. Hello there.
Alistair, how are you?
I'm really well. I'm really well. Good to see you again. So tell us about the new album, David.
So it's been a long time coming. We started writing this, some of the songs kind of 2015, 2016. So you're talking best part of 10 years. We've had a lot of this written, and it's just been the last few months that well, probably realistically the last 2 years we kind of pulled it together, but because of the way we've recorded it, we've had the luxury of being able to unpick wee things and change things as we've went. And it's as a result, we've we've been so self-indulgent with the production of it and changing the most minute wee things. It's just taken so much longer than we originally intended. But it has been a good thing, I'd say.
So tell us how you've recorded it and how it's different to how you've done it previously.
Well, previously what we've done is the more traditional format of we hire a studio, go in, somebody produces, you have X amount of hours to get something done, and that's your whack. Whereas with this, the amazing thing that we were able to do is the entire thing was recorded here in my flat. I've got the piano behind me, we've got the guitars, we had a drum kit set up for the best part of a month, and everybody that plays on the album just came in, did their thing, and the guitarist Stuart, he produced everything. So it meant that we did all the recording, we did the sessions here. He went home, he started all the mixing and stuff, and we were just able to go through it at absolute snail pace if we wanted to. Like he would send over a mix of that, well, could we maybe change this? Or I don't like the way that this bit sounds, or that vocal is absolutely atrocious from me. I want to do that again. And you had that luxury of time that you don't have in a studio, which is kind of a double-edged sword
Yeah, I
because
bet.
you don't have that opportunity. You go in, you have it's kind of like a one and done, and what you're left with is the end product. Whereas you can drive yourself to absolute distraction doing it this way because you can focus. Literally, a couple of the songs, you know, there's like syllables within words that I don't know if I like the sound of that, and it gets to a point, and I said this to Stuart, you're going to need to just make the call at points because this will never come out otherwise because I'm so obsessed and so self-critical and things. And it eventually got to a point, all right, enough's enough. It's done. So
And do you think you've made a better record as a result of working this way?
I think so. It's funny you say that actually. Stuart and I we were having a call yesterday, and I said to him that I think this is the first time in my life. Obviously, I had my first album come out in 2015. There was an EP before that. There was an EP after that. And in fact, I think it was two EPs. And within those, there's always been something that I feel like, I wish that was different, or I wish this. It's the first time I can truly say that as an album, it's turned out exactly how I intended. And if this album isn't good enough, then I genuinely don't know what we could have done better on it. Do you know? I think that this is the best I can do. So it's, I think 100%, as much as there has been the challenges along the way with recording it this way, I think that as, and I hate to use this pretentious term, but as a body of work, I
Mhm.
think it works really well.
Well, absolutely sounds like a complete album, if you know what I mean. Everything, all the songs kind of, we'll talk about themes later on, but all the songs kind of feed into each other. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying this just because of what you said. When I first put it on to listen, I thought that, wow, the production on this is top notch. I think you can absolutely tell what you've been explaining, that you've taken your time over
Yeah.
every syllable almost.
It's, I, it's a few people have actually said that to me that the production is great, and I would love to sit here and take the plaudits for it, but there's not, I don't really have, I've got very basic sound production abilities, but as I say, he's been the mastermind behind it, and I try and explain to them things like, imagine that we're in like a box and I sound like I'm here, but I need to sound like I'm and for some reason he understands what I'm talking about, and it's just we've been able to do that, and the result has been, I think it sounds really warm, and I don't think for 1 second it sounds like it was recorded in the living room, and
No.
that's all down to him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, and it's really interesting to hear. Also, I'm interested as someone who grew up in a house with a drum kit in it. How were the neighbours with that?
Well, we got around it with the drum kit because we were able to use the drummer Scott. He's got one of these kind of top of the range V drum kits. So we had that. So the only thing that the neighbours really heard was that kind of dull thud. It was more the acoustic piano. That was when we were fixating over, song after song after song after song when we were tracking the piano. And one of the neighbours was actually trying to sell the house at that point. So they actually came down and were like, listen, is there any way at this time we can hear nothing because we want out of here? And I don't know if that was because they were sick of listening to me playing the piano originally, but
And the album itself, the title kind of tells you what the album's about. We, then me.
Mhm.
Give us a brief explanation.
So initially it was a subconscious thing. I was in a relationship. I mean, that is the thing now. It's 10 years ago. And after we split up, I was, I just went to the pub and I was pining and going through all the emotions that you do when something like that ends. And I wrote a lot of stuff at that time. And before that, you can tell when a relationship's not going to work out for the long term. So there was cracks appearing, and some songs I was writing without even really realizing what I was writing about. So,
Mhm.
the first half of the album, I look at it as, and it's great because I've been able to get this made into records because it works. So it's like side A is we, so it's songs when we were together, kind
Right.
of the points when cracks started to appear. And then the second half is kind of the stuff that I wrote afterwards, trying to navigate the feelings of when you've been so comfortable with somebody for such a long period of time, and then bringing yourself out of that and trying to, meet somebody else, or just the the reality that they're going to meet somebody else and all that kind of stuff. So I think it works quite well in that respect, that you have the two sides of it, and I think there's a relatability there that everybody has been in this kind of situation at some point in their lives. So yeah, I think that was it wasn't the original intention, but I think we've kind of lucked out with the way that the songs work, and the fact that it splits into 5 and 5 is ideal. So
I guess that's partly what I'm talking about when I say it feels like a real album. It feels like, everything is where it should be. The length of it feels perfect as well. And you're right, everyone will be able to relate to what you've written about and what you're explaining, but not many people still write songs about it. They maybe listen to other people's songs about it. I mean, I was a terrible one for making really sad mixtapes about things that I've finished, but in that sense, did writing these songs, is it therapeutic? Is that a bit of a stereotype?
no, I think that that's a stereotype for a reason. I think it's wildly cathartic to
Mhm.
do that. And the initial kind of 10, 11 songs that we had were a couple of them got subbed out because when it came to the actual recording point of it, we were sitting on these songs for kind of 7, 8 years,
Mhm.
and a couple of them weren't quite where we wanted them. So I found, right, well, if we're subbing these out, we need something else to go into it. And I found that there was three three songs I think on the album were written within the last 3 years. So this is then trying to put yourself back into a situation that you were in 7 years ago emotionally. And I found that that was also quite a therapeutic process because you're looking at it retrospectively. This is how I felt. And trying to kind of dive back into that from a lyrical point of view to get these songs written was. I mean, I thought Stuart was going to kill me, to be fair, because we had the album written out we had the sequence there, and I was like, listen, I'm really sorry, but I've written these, and he heard them and he's like, right, okay, well, we need to go with them. So yeah,
So these songs, a lot of them were written over a long period of time because you've released music in the meantime, but
yeah,
you're always writing songs that you thought they're going to be on this album, they're going to be together on an album, or
yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah. I would say so. Like the theme of them were they all work together. They were all about the same thing. So I figured they need to keep together. So in the interim period, I'd released a wee EP where I went back and it was like songs from previous EPs or things that I'd done with bands. I kind of did an acoustic version and kind of rearranged them for that. And then I had a wee throwaway pop song that I wrote called Let's Go Away that was the kind of lead single on that wee EP. And I realized, you know when you write something throwaway because it falls out of you in like
Yeah,
5 or 10 minutes and it ends up, I was like, right, that's ideal. It's not got the same subject matter as the rest of the songs that are working towards this album. So they were always intended for it. And
right.
as I say, it just came down to a matter of quality at the end when it came time to start tracking the album itself. I was like, right, that's not going to be as good. And I think in the back of my head, because I hadn't written anything for a while, and I think that it was kind of, I was thinking that it wasn't, they weren't really there. So I thought, right, you're going to need to try and do something here. And thankfully, 3 songs came out. But the uh, the most recent, I think the most recent one for it was We Lie.
Hmm.
And my thing is, I say this to my friends, particularly like my musical pals all the time. Like I am just a total rip-off merchant. Um, so We Lie, I was listening to. I'd bought a copy of Speed of Sound by Wings.
Yes, yes.
It's an old. I think I got it on eBay for like 5 quid or something. It was just an old record, and I had it on. And I was listening to silly love songs.
Hmm.
It was just that kind of breakdown in the middle, the how can I tell you, but 3 chords, and I was playing it, and then I realized, hang on a minute, if I speed these up and kind of change the melody a wee bit. So I nicked it. I completely nicked Paul McCartney's masterpiece and threw it together, but it works, and I think that is genuinely just the way that most music works, as people ripping off each other for years and years and years.
If you're going to rip someone off, go for the very best in terms of melody and all of those things.
Exactly, a poor man's version.
And I was wondering about inspirations for this album. Were there albums that you listened to in the past, maybe breakup albums, because there's some famous ones out there that, or was it just purely from scratch?
I think that my original intention for this album was I wanted it to just be me and an acoustic guitar,
Right.
and I wanted it to be kind of in this a similar vein as Bon Iver's For Emma,
Hmm.
which I thought would, I thought it was a masterpiece. I loved the idea of doing that, and I loved the potential self-indulgence of that, where there wasn't anything to hide behind, and I could, just throw this abject misery out. And it was down to Stuart, and I said to him, "This is what I want to do. These are the songs." He was like, "No, you need to put a band together for that. You need
Right.
other people playing on this." So for Emma was definitely an inspiration. Then you have, it's so cliche, but one of my favorite albums ever is Rumours, which is the quintessential breakup album. So there was that. Blue by Joni Mitchell as well was one that I was listening to a lot at the time of writing, and one of my favorite songwriters ever is Justin Curry from Delamitri. I think he's an absolute genius. And I get a lot of my friends can't understand it because they think I'm 20 years too young to be a massive Delamitri fan. But I think in terms of songwriting, he's one of the best. So there's definitely inspiration from him.
And he's a great writer about relationships as well, and
Yeah.
storytelling in that sense.
100%. I think there definitely is, from a writing point of view, there's definitely some kind of musical osmosis happens where you're listening to people and you're listening to, their style, the way that they tell a story, the way that they can write about their emotions and things, and it does just start to kind of seep into what you're doing, I think.
Mhm. And who else is on the album? So you put a band together. Who else is sort of?
I put a band together, so we've got Stuart Guffey. He is the mastermind, and he plays electric guitar. He did a wee bit of bass on the recordings, did backing vocals. Then we've got Ryan Ballantyne. He plays bass, and those two boys we went to uni together and did kind of various things for years. And then we've got two brothers, Scott and Ryan McCluckie. So Scott played the drums, and Ryan plays the piano on the album. And then we've got Megan Quinn. She came in. She was kind of the last addition to the pack because we figured there was only so high that me and Stuart could sing at points. And Megan I knew for years. We worked together, and she added just a certain something. Her voice just kind of fit perfectly into it, and particularly in the title track, "We Then Me." She was great. But all of the boys, I've luckily managed to surround myself with musicians that are better than I am, which I've tried to do in any project that I have because they just make everything seem so effortless. Ryan's piano is amazing. Stuart's guitar playing is so understated. I don't think there's a wild solo in anything, but it's the wee subtle things that he does. Ryan's bass, Scott's drumming as well is it's so not flashy, which I love. He just plays to the song, which is it. Basically, everybody does a job beyond anything that I could ever have hoped. I'm
Yeah,
very, very lucky.
we're going to hear the title track in a moment after we've had our chat. But you've already played these songs live. I think you've done a couple of sellout gigs fairly recently.
Yeah, we've done a few. We played at it's a basement kind of bar in Guruk, which we sold out. That was our first kind of comeback gig. Comeback. It was the first one that we played for like 5 or 10 years. And I think that was actually the last time I spoke to you when We Lied, maybe came out. We did that, and then we followed it up last year. We did a sold out show at the Beacon Arts Centre in Greenock, and
That's a big gig. That's a big venue.
yeah, it was good. It was in the kind of studio theatre, so I think
Right.
it's maybe a couple of hundred, 150. I'm not sure. And I think the thing is, I would rather be playing in smaller places that I know is going to be busy. I hate the idea of trying to
Yeah.
shoot for the moon and fall short on it. And so we've purposely done it that way. And on Friday night, the day that the album came out, I did like a wee kind of last minute pop-up show in the Cafe Continental down in Guruk, which is where I work as well. And we figured it would just be nice to kind of do something on the day. Well, obviously we've got a few things planned for over the summer and into the autumn, but it was nice to just me and the acoustic guitar and just play the album start to finish there. And so yeah, it was a nice wee thing.
So the songs, a bit like you imagined them originally, can be stripped back to just you and guitar.
They can. The annoying thing is that now they don't sound as good. I don't think, I've got a couple of pals that were there and they were like, listen, it was magic. I don't know what you're worrying about, but they definitely I hate the fact that I was wrong, but Stuart was 100% right that they do a band totally adds to everything.
Oh, I absolutely agree that they sound amazing on the album, each and every one. And so, you mentioned plans there? Have you got any dates that you can tell us about, or is that all still to be confirmed?
We've got nothing confirmed. I believe I'm doing a support slot. I think I'm opening for Withered Hand
Yeah,
in
brilliant.
July, and I think he's brilliant. I really like. I've met Dan a few times, and I love his stuff. So that was a really good thing for me to get. And again, that's in the Beacon Arts Centre. And after that, we're talking about doing another wee gig down here in Gourock at some point over the summer. We're just trying to kind of lock in a date, and then we're looking at some Glasgow things for the autumn because we're wanting to get back into the studio at some point, kind of ASAP, and get another single out to follow on with this. But it's kind of enjoying just having it out there. The songs have been kind of sitting in the back of your head for so long, so it's a bit of an odd feeling to
Yeah.
have them out there, you know?
I can imagine, especially since you've been living with them, some of them anyway, for so long, trying to
Yeah.
get them out there and to get feedback. What's the feedback been? All positive?
The feedback has it's been really really good. And you know, friends who would tell me and have told me if things aren't good seem to be enjoying it. You know, we've got a wee bit of radio play and we've had a couple of reviews which have been really nice, and
Fantastic.
everybody's been so complimentary of it. It's wild. It's surpassed its expectations. We just need to see one of the things that I was trying to do. I always loved the idea of being in a charts. Getting a chart position somewhere has always been a dream of mine. And the lower reaches of some charts, whatever, like I just love the idea of being able to, at some point, I have been in a chart. So I was trying to, so I kind of tried to convince people to pre-order it and things.
Yeah.
So I was writing people, what I decided to do was write letters to people. Just thanking them. I figured that the letters are dying art. I thought it'd be a wee bit of a gimmick if people did it, and it just totally blew up over the last couple of weeks. So where I'm sitting just now, I've literally just been sitting, spending hours writing all these letters out and delivering them where I can by hand, and then spending a small fortune on stamps to the places that I can't. But it's crazy.
Yeah, you've picked a bad time in terms of postage, that's for sure. It's not as cheap. It's
Tell me about it.
but that's nice because sometimes when I get an album that arrives through the post, even there's just a wee note with it, people really do appreciate that. You're not taking it for granted that
Yeah,
what
I
you're.
think I think it makes a massive difference. It's the kind of thing that I would love, and I think just now, you know, everybody knows what's going on in the world and how hard it can be for people financially. The fact that anybody would be willing to spend money on something that I've made is it's so humbling, you know, and my appreciation for people doing that it's incredible. I can't fathom it, which is why I thought, right, what can I do? You know, from an eligibility point of view, I can't give anybody anything. You know, I can't be like, oh, thanks very much. Here's a fiver. Like,
Yeah,
thought, what can I do? And I thought just sending it out, and the feedback from people that have got them so far. I mean, I've still got hundreds that I need to write, but the people that have received them so far, that it has become, you know, just like a really nice wee thing through social
yeah,
media. People have been sharing theirs, and my initial cunning plan was I was just going to make a template and then just use that for everything. But I got far too cocky because I didn't think that anybody was going to go for this,
mhm.
and I kind of started customizing and making them all different and unique. And now I can't go back to just having them all the same. So it does take a bit of time. My hand is in agony after about 20 of them, but it's the fact that people are enjoying it and want one again, it's just very nice. And people have been very complimentary about my handwriting, which is quite a surprise.
Well, it's good because I was thinking it's something that we rarely. Like, I do still write quite a bit, but longhand. But it's something that's not done that often anymore. So it's a kind of muscle memory going back to how do you do this properly, nicely?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And as you'll know from working in kitchens and things, you know, your handwriting isn't normally a priority. It's a scroll and a signature, and
Your
it's
signature is
on to
just,
the next
yeah, I
thing.
can remember, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And just before we finish up, you talked earlier on about, a kind of throwaway song. And something that you did recently was your cover, which I loved, was your cover of ABBA's SOS.
Oh, yeah.
I really loved it. Why did you choose to do that?
I love ABBA.
Yeah,
Absolutely do. And I hate people having a pretentiousness or a musical snobbery, you know. And particularly this week the Eurovision's coming up, you
yeah,
know. ABBA are the masters of pop. Absolutely amazing. You know, I think for me SOS is arguably the finest ever pop song. I think it has everything. And from a miserable git like myself's point of view, it has, you know, loss, love,
yeah.
break, everything in it. But the arrangement and between that and I don't know if you know an Australian singer-songwriter, Angie McMahon.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, she did a version of it was on is it Alt J's like a version.
Right.
She did a version of
Yeah.
Knowing Me, Knowing You, which was incredible. And I thought, that is the thing is you can lock into the sadness in some
Yes.
of
Aye.
lyrics and bring them out. And I thought, we were kind of in between singles from this album, and I thought it would just be a nice wee thing to do. But I'm so glad you liked it,
It was great. And I think you're right. It absolutely shows the kind of the song stripped back. And as a result, you get the real kind of melancholy that's at the heart of a lot of, as you say, a lot of what ABBA do.
Yeah. I mean, ABBA they were like Fleetwood Mac as well, these couples that are splitting up and then getting with each other, and like it's just amazing. But they're incredible. Absolutely. That was the first album I ever bought was ABBA Gold. The super compilation that had ABBA Gold and more ABBA Gold on it because they're just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I think anybody that says they don't like ABBA, they are lying to the person they're having the conversation with and lying to themselves because I think it's impossible,
A
you know.
bold statement, but I think perhaps a true one. David, it's always a pleasure to see you and catch up, and all the very best with the album.
No, thanks very much. I really appreciate it, Ali. It's great to see you again.
And this is I Am David Laing and the title track of the album, We Then Me.